record on this. Hello and welcome to the second class of this Olive Open Learning Initiative IELTS Intensive. Today we will be looking at the listening exam and the task 1 of the writing exam. I spend extra time on the writing exam because boy does it need it. It's probably the hardest part of the exam for many people. So if you have not seen the first episode of this class, it covers an overview of the exam and some detailed skills for the reading exam. I hope you will have a look at it and hope it works for you. So here we go. The listening exam. We have another 30-minute. This one is a 30-minute exam, and you do have still 40 questions to answer. If you are taking the paper exam, you will have an additional 10 minutes transfer time. The transfer time it does not apply to the computer-based exam, but they do give you a gap in between each section to check over your answers. It's a good chance to also read ahead on the questions. So let's look at that. So 40 questions. There are 4 sections of increasing difficulty. All right. Section 1 is a discussion, a conversation between 2 people. Oftentimes it's someone booking a travel or booking or finding out about services at a place like a library, that kind of thing. I think today we're going to see a language school. So it's a conversation between 2 people about data. So times, dates, things that are offered, that sort of thing. Section 2 is a description like a travelogue or a monologue about what services are available at a library or some other business, like a travel service or a holiday resort. What is their timetable and what do they offer? But one person speaking in that one. In section 3, we have a conversation between usually 2 or 3 people, can be up to 4, so that it's 4 different voices and accents you'll be hearing. And they will be discussing something to do with an academic course. It might be a professor telling the students what they need to do to fulfill an assignment. It might be students talking with each other about a group assignment or activity that they need to do. But that's what it will be. It's multiple people talking about details about an academic assignment or project. Section 4 is an academic monologue. So it will be a lecture about an academic topic. This does not mean that it's got any specialized language. It is all for general people. So it's a very straightforward and simple level. There won't be any requirement for you to have existing knowledge of the subject. It's assumed that you have no knowledge of the subject. That's the level of the lecture. So if it's on a medical topic, it is on a general public level. So not for medical students, just for your average undergraduate. All right. So those are the 4 levels. Again, I said this on the reading exam. I'm going to say it again. There is only one exam. There are 9 levels, right? 9 levels, 1 exam. Unless you are going to get a 9, There will be questions that are too hard. Skip them. Ignore them. It's a terrible thing to have to do. You've never had to do this in an exam before. Always it's you memorize everything, you go in and you want to get everything right. I never think I've even passed if I don't feel like I've gotten 100%. It's one of those things. We always demand so much of ourselves. But take a deep breath. This exam is for you and your level, but also for people very much above your level. Don't worry about their questions. They're on the same exam. Why is this important? Well, look, what band level do you need? All right, so somebody who's trying for a 9, they can get one question wrong. All right, but if you need a 6 or a 6.5 or even a 7, look at that. At a 7, you can have 10 questions wrong. You only have to get 30 questions right to get your level 7. All right. And if you're looking for a 6 to get into a first-year undergraduate, no worries. 25, 23 to 26 points is all you need. All right. So relax in the exam. I know it's easy to say, don't worry. Take a big, deep breath so that your body can tell your brain that everything is fine and not to worry. Okay. So key techniques. Find the guide words. That is why is that not good? There we go. When just like in the reading exam, it's not the documents that you read, it's the questions. And in some respects, the listening exam is also a reading exam. It is the questions, reading the questions, that will find you the answers. The answers are in the questions. It's super important. All right. So find the guide words and find the guide words. So when you're listening, you know, if this were a question on the listening exam, what should IELTS students do to prepare? Our guide word is IELTS. If they're talking about some other exam, we're not going to worry about it. And they're asking, what do students do to prepare? Well, are we necessarily going to hear the word students? Not necessarily. It could be. So this is where synonyms are super important. So when you've got the language of the question, look at synonyms as well. So students, maybe they're going to refer to them as candidates. Maybe they'll refer to them as test takers. All right. So when we see the word student, we need to think, okay, could be candidate, test taker, could be any sort of thing. And prepare, what does it mean to prepare? Well, it means to get ready and to study. So perhaps in the lecture, they're saying that all test takers should study for at least 3 weeks, taking multiple practice exams to prepare for the exam. Exactly. So identify grammatical clues. All right. So we've got a sentence here. IELTS and TOEFL are both blanks of English. Is this going to be a singular noun or is this going to be a plural? The verb is telling us it will be a plural, both tests of English language. All right. And it would have to be, and test, the answer test would not be accurate. It would have to be tests, because that's what fits into that sentence. All right. Targeted listening. Now, this is a challenge, but it's important. So try targeted listening. One of the things that you can do is listen to things and just listen for something in particular, like have the news on and listen for numbers. Whenever they say a number, try and listen to the words around it and catch what that number was about. That kind of thing will help you focus on listening. And the very most important thing of all, the absolute must, the most important thing of all is listening forward. All right. What do I mean by listening forward? Well, all of the answers come in the order of the questions, right? So as you're listening, you will hear the answer to question 1. And after that, the answer to question 2 and 3, and then 4. Now, if you are there and you heard the answer to question 1, and you heard the answer to question 2, fantastic. And then for some reason you hear the answer to the question 4. Oh my gosh. Is this time to panic? No. If you go, oh, wait, what was question 3? Let it go. You have to let it go, because you've just heard the answer to question 4. What's coming next? The answer to question 5. If you're thinking about question 3, you're going to miss question 5. And then if you get worried because, oh no, now I've missed question 3 and question 5. What were they saying? I'm trying to think of this. And all of a sudden the recording has continued and you have no idea where you are or what you're listening for. Okay. That's the worst thing. That is the absolute worst case scenario for the listening exam. If that happens, it's going to be hard to get the mark you need. So we're not going to let that happen, right? We're going to take a big, deep breath at the beginning of the exam so that our brain is working in its best possible way. And when we hear the answer to question 4, are we going to be thinking about question 3? No. Laisse tomber, leave it, let it fall, let it drop like rain from the heaven and lay upon the ground, because we can't do anything about it. So you really have to let it go. Write down that answer for question 4 and listen for question 5. All right. That's what you can do. And that will get you through the exam. That is the one biggest problem that people have with this exam, is if you lose your place in the recording, it's really hard to catch back up. So we're not going to do that. We're going to be super careful. We're going to let go of anything behind us and keep listening forward. That next question, that's going to get us the marks. Remember, do you need to get every question? Of course you don't. You don't. Unless you're trying for a 9. It's great to try for a 9, but don't make trying to get everything right. Don't let that make you miss your 6.5 or 7 that you need. Okay. Because it's wonderful to strive forward, but let's focus on the skills for getting us the band level we need. Plenty of time to take it again 5 years down the road and ace the whole thing. And then you feel really good about yourself. So, right. So listen forward, don't worry, and you can always guess at the end. All right. So next key technique. So first massive key technique, besides reading the questions and looking for guide words, and most important, listening for it. Understand the instructions. There are word limits. I didn't go over this in the reading exam. It applies there as well. So you'll see in our samples today, there are very specific instructions. They may say something like, write no more than one number. Okay, so what does it mean if they say write no more than one number? It means no words, you can write a number. That's it. The answer must be numerical, and there can only be one of them. That's it. Okay. Write no more than 2 words. What does this one mean? Well, it means that it's no more. I'm going to underline that. No more than 2 words. Okay, so can you write 1 word? Yes. Can you write 2 words? Yes. Can you write 3 words? So the most complicated instruction you'll get will be something that looks like this. Write no more than 3 words and or a number. What does that mean? Well, here is our list of options. The answer could be 1 word. It could be 2 words. It could be 3 words. 3 words. It could be 1 number. It could be 1 word and a number. It could be 2 words and a number. And it could be 3 words and a number. All right. So make sure you read them carefully. All right. So, very important point, connectors and or, and the articles a, an, and the. They count as words. All right. Really important. They count as words. So if you use an article, you have to count it as a word. So if it's only 2 words, the blue fish, if blue fish is the answer, and you write a blue fish, and it says no more than 2 words, a blue fish is 3 words, you will not get the point. All right. A blue fish is 3 words. So the articles count. So articles and conjunctions, hopefully you understand that now. All good. Next, we are going to go to, right, let's try a little practice. All right. So where to find the practice? This link, and I will copy it also into the chat just for those of you who are here. There's the chat. Where's my chat? There's my chat. Okay. So this link is to a Google Drive that I have put together that has an entire library of, well, it's an entire book of practice exams. And actually, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and bring up the other one and share it. So go ahead, start my timer, and I'm already 7 minutes in. Okay. Right, there we are. So, let's see. Okay, and here is what you will find in this IELTS practice. So this is the page that you'll come to if you follow that link. And as you see, there's the answers here for the reading practice, and here are the documents for the reading practices. And as we scroll down, there's the writing practice. There are 6 of each of them. And up here in these files, we have there's a large British Council practice. That's a full British Council practice exam. I recommend that you use that later in the class, or you could save that as the last one that you do before you take the actual exam, because it's the closest to the original. Each of these folders, the listening 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, have inside them the listening questions in a PDF file, the audio tracks that are required, and an answer key for the end. So lots of opportunities to practice. We're going to be using portions of listening 1 today. So I'm going to leave this open. You know what? I'm going to have to reshare this. Sorry to make this lumpy, because I need to reshare this with the sound on. I do need the sound on, so let's make sure I'm showing this with the sound so that I can do this. There we go. So now I'm going to this. Both the audio and the other stuff up at the same time. So sorry about the messy screen for a moment. Right. And here we are. Right. So now you know where to find the listening practices. And you've got my email address, so you can always ask me questions. So let's look at the first one. What does this look like? Here we go. We've got a table with some information in it. Hopefully everyone can see this. Right. And let's see. So what I'm going to do is play the track. So what have we got? Where are we? We're at a language school, right? And we're looking at their class schedule, right? So here we've got the level, and we're missing what? A day. And Japanese, for this class, we're missing the level, all right? And on question 3, again, we're missing the level. And then for French, once again, we're missing a time. So blank evenings, that's probably going to be a day of the week. All right. But down here, we've got the day of the week. So we'll be listening for what? Yes, the time of day. So we don't know whether it's morning, evening, or afternoon. So let's play the audio and answer. Please feel free to jump in. I am going to try, this can be a challenge, but I'm going to try and put a little star out every time I hear the correct, the answer to the question. So challenge for me, I haven't done this before. So here we go. Play this.
Practice test 1. You will hear a number of different recordings and you'll have to answer questions on what you will hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all of your answers on the test pages. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 on page 5. Section 1. You will hear a man asking for information about language classes over the phone. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4 on page 5.
This is the time that you get to read those questions in the exam. And look for all the clues that you can find.
You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
They no longer do this.
Good morning, Globetrotters Language School. How may I help you?
Yes, I was wondering if you could give me some information on language classes.
The woman answers the phone. Globetrotters Language School. So the word Globetrotters has been written at the top of the form. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning, Globetrotters Language School. How may I help you?
Yes, I was wondering if you could give me some information on language classes.
Certainly. What language are you interested in studying?
Well, that's the thing. I'm interested in learning Japanese, but I'd also like to improve my Chinese. I don't know which to study right now.
Maybe the class schedule will help you decide. Did you want to study in the morning, afternoon, or evening?
I work in the evenings, so mornings or afternoons would be best.
Then that decides it for you. We offer an advanced Chinese class, but it meets on Wednesday and Friday evenings.
I couldn't do that. When do the Japanese classes meet?
We have beginning Japanese on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. No, wait, that's intermediate Japanese. Which level do you want? Advanced?
No, beginning, definitely. I know some Chinese and some French, but I'm a real beginner with Japanese.
Well then, are you free Monday, Wednesday and Friday mornings? That's when the beginning Japanese classes meet. We also have intermediate French on Friday mornings.
I could do those mornings, but I'd prefer afternoon. Don't you have anything in the afternoon?
We have intermediate Japanese class on Wednesday and Friday afternoons.
I really need a beginner class, so I'll take the morning Japanese class. Could you give me an idea of the cost? What would be the tuition for the Japanese class?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time.
Right. So, as you heard, there was some confusion with the Japanese. They gave information and they said, oh no, that's actually the advanced class. So that one was the hard one in this one. So, my drawings, and we'll just go to the next page where I have the answers. All right. So Wednesday and Friday are when the advanced Chinese is. Intermediate Japanese is Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Beginning Japanese is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the French intermediate is on Friday mornings. Right. So we'll go on, and this time we're going to be listening for numbers. So let's see how that goes. Oh, great. Now it's telling me it can't play the audio file. All right. I'll just. Yeah, I've downloaded it, so. Let's see.
Practice test 1. You will hear a number of different recordings and you'll have
Apologies
to
for
answer
this.
questions on what you will hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions and
class. So I'll take the morning Japanese class.
There
Could
we
you
go.
give me an idea of the cost? What would be the
Friday afternoons.
I really need a beginner class. So I'll take the morning Japanese class. Could you give me an idea of the cost? What would be the tuition for the Japanese class?
5 to 10.
All right. Here's the next section. Apologies for the glitch.
Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
All right. So what have we got here? We've got
The beginning level classes meet 3 times a week, so they cost a bit more than the other levels. For a 6-week course, the cost would be $575.
That's a bit
Steve.
If it's hard for you to pay that much, you could sign up for just 4 weeks of class and pay $410. Or you could pay for 1 week at a time, $125 a week.
That comes out to be much more expensive once you add up.
weeks.
That's true. You can save money by
I'm very sorry. I'm going to restart that. Right. Don't usually have this many problems. Okay, there we are. Let me just restart that section. So we've got numbers that we're looking for now, and then a little bit of additional information. Sorry about the hiccup there. My computer went crazy.
$175.
That's a bit steep.
There we go.
Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
The beginning level classes meet 3 times a week, so they cost a bit more than the other levels. For a 6-week course, the cost would be $575.
That's a bit steep.
If it's hard for you to pay that much, you could sign up for just 4 weeks of class and pay $410, or you could pay for 1 week at a time at $125 a week.
That comes out to be much more expensive once you add up all the weeks.
That's true. You can save money by registering for 2 levels together. For example, pay for your beginning and intermediate classes now, and you'll get 12 weeks of class for just $1,050.
That's not a bad deal, but I can't come up with that much money at once. I'll just pay for the 6-week course.
Fine. That class begins next week, so you need to register right away.
Can't I register over the phone?
No, I'm sorry, we don't take phone registrations. What you'll need to do is visit the school office today or tomorrow. Bring a cheque for the tuition and a photo ID.
Is that all?
Yes, we'll give you a registration form to complete, or you can save time by visiting our website and downloading the form there. Complete it and bring it into the office with your cheque.
Great. I'll stop by this afternoon.
Fine. When you arrive, ask for Mr. Lindsay. He's in charge of student registration.
I'm sorry, Mr. Who?
Mr. Lindsay, spelled Lindsay.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you in class.
Right. So now you see we've got, I hope you saw the order in which these pieces of information came. It was not in exactly the same order, but you had to just keep reading the script, the questions while you were looking. 4, 6, it was hearing those numbers, the weeks, that gave you your answers. So let's carry on. Now go down. Oh, I've got to, yeah, I'll leave that up for now. So here we go. Here's our answers. I hope you heard them. Now I've got one additional piece of information. When she spelled Mr. Lindsay, it means you do have to spell it correctly. Spelling does count, as does capitalization in the listening exam. This is true also in the reading exam. There is a clever trick to save you having to think about capitalization, and that is you can write in all uppercase. Okay, if you write your answers in all uppercase letters, you will not be marked off for capitalization because you're fine. All right. So in order to get the capitalization right, simply write in full capital letters. Right. Well, that's the basic level. That's the first level. That's listening for detailed information. All right. The next level, and this is section 2, this is someone describing an area. Let me turn off my annotation real quick. Yeah. There we go. So we will listen to this one, and let's move that out so you can see everything. Right. We'll listen to this one. And now maps, people tend to find really challenging. So the important thing to do with this one is to, let me drop this into. You need to keep track with your cursor if you're taking the oops.
Section 2.
Oh,
You will hear tour guide giving information about a shopping district. First, you have some time to look.
There we go. Don't know why it did that this time. Last time it just brought a file up. Oh. I think I'd be better at technology. I'm so sorry. Right. So what you're going to hear is a description of these places. Now, look, we've got a list of stores, buildings, right? So we have the Harbor View bookstore, the Pear Cafe, a souvenir store, an art gallery, and the Harbor Park. So we've got to really listen carefully for those words. But the other thing we've got to listen to are directions. And that's what makes this particularly challenging. Now, they've put a star here next to the A, and that's where we're starting. She is going to guide us around these, all right? So it's try the best you can, don't work, big deep breath, but try the best you can to stay where, to remember where you are. I'm going to track it with a, I'll again be putting stars up when we've gotten someplace, but I'm also going to give us some directions. All right. So I'll be tracking with the pencil and putting stars up when we've got the location. So here we are. We've got Cherry Street going left and right, east and west, and Pear Street going vertically, and each of these corners to think about. So let's see if we can keep our place and figure out where we are.
Questions 11 to 15 on page 6. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 11 to 15.
This afternoon, we'll visit the city's shopping district. Several blocks in the area are closed to car traffic, and I know you'll enjoy walking around there. I'd like to give you an overview of the district now, since you'll be on your own once we get there. You'll see on this map here that the shopping district consists of two streets, Pear Street, which runs north and south, and Cherry Street, which crosses Pear Street right here. Let's start our tour here on Pear Street, where the star is. This star marks the Harbor View Bookstore. It's very popular among locals as well as tourists. You can buy a range of books of local interest, as well as a variety of magazines and newspapers. It's directly across the street from the city library, which is also worth a visit. It's in one of the oldest buildings in the city and contains, among other things, an interesting collection of rare books. Now, moving up Pear from the bookstore toward Cherry, the next building on the left is the Pear Cafe. You'll notice it's right on the corner of Pear and Cherry Streets. It's a great place to relax while enjoying a delicious cup of coffee or tea. You can talk with friends or read quietly. They have a variety of books and magazines available. From the windows of the cafe, you can look right across Cherry Street for a lovely view of city gardens. It's a rather small garden, but it contains a variety of exotic plants and flowers. Let's leave the cafe and cross Pear Street. On the opposite corner, we're at Caldwell's Clothing Store, which you might also want to visit. They sell both men's and women's fashions from countries around the world. Continuing down Cherry Street, the next building on the right after Caldwell's is the souvenir shop. Stop in here to get maps and books about the local area, as well as t-shirts and postcards with pictures of the city. Now, we cross Cherry Street and we're at the Art Gallery, one building down from the corner. Here you can see, and of course purchase, many fine paintings and sculptures by local artists. Let's keep going down Cherry Street toward the harbor. On the left, right after the gallery, is Harbor Park. It's a lovely place, and it's certainly worth spending some time there.
Before you
Right. So, could you keep track? I used my I used my arrows to follow the track. We were looking at the library, but we didn't go there. We went to the cafe. We stopped at a clothing store, which we didn't need to note. We moved then to the souvenir shop, then the art gallery, and then Harbor Park at Isle. So, did you get that? I hope so. It's Let me turn that off for now, and oops, there we go. And there we are. There's our answers as well. So the Harborview Bookstore is where we started, right? The Pear Cafe is where we went next. And then we we went to D, but that wasn't part of our list. So then we had the souvenir store, the art gallery, and the Harbor Park. So the key is to do what I just did, which is to really follow with your finger, your cursor, your pencil, whatever you've got, whether it's a paper exam or the computer-based, follow along and make sure that you listen for each turn. There's a lot of distracting information, as you noticed in that one. There was a lot of information we didn't need at all. And it would be very easy, it would have been very easy to go over to the library, but she didn't say we were going there. We were only looking, just as when we were at Cherry Street, at the cafe, at Pear Cafe, we were looking across to the garden. We didn't go there, we looked across. So don't move your cursor when you're looking, only when you're walking, and you won't lose track of where you are. Right. So we've got just enough time to cover one of the harder ones. So let me kill my annotations. Yep. There we go. So look at this one real quick. Oops. Yeah. Any questions? So, and this is going to be section 4.
Section 4.
There we go. We've got that set up. So this is section 4. This is where you are going to be listening to a lecture. And so we're only going to take the first part of it because we don't have time to do all. But I want you to start to understand how it gets, what the later parts sound like. All right. So what have we got? Once again, don't forget to look at the information. Oh, I hate that. I'm so bad at these. So we've got instructions, no more than 2 words. So can it be 1 word? Yes. Can it be 2 words? Yes. Can it be 3 words? No. If you use an article or a conjunction, it counts as a word. So just so that you remember. So what are we listening for? I'm going to turn this off so that I can use my, actually, anyway. I can do that. No, that's just not going to do it. Okay. So we've got something about ancient China. We know what we're talking about, historical uses of wind power. So wind power that was used in the past. We have ancient China, ancient Persia, and the Netherlands. And each of these used wind power for one thing or another. So in ancient China, we have just generic windmills were used. But in ancient Persia, what's this word that we need to look out for? What did the farmers use? It's not just general use of wind power. So they might tell us something about the general use, but we need to listen for farmers. And in the Netherlands, we're back to general. It's just people in general used windmills to X. All right. So if you're ready, let's listen.
You will hear a lecture about wind energy. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 33 on page 8. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 33.
With the rising cost of fossil fuels, there's a great deal of interest these days in developing alternative sources of energy. Today, I'd like to talk about one of these: wind power. In the past couple of decades, there's been an upsurge of interest in using the wind as a source of energy, but the idea isn't new at all. People have been harnessing the power of the wind for centuries, ever since ancient peoples first used sailboats. In ancient China, farmers used a rudimentary sort of windmill to pump water. Wind power was used in other parts of the ancient world as well. In Persia, for example, farmers used wind-powered mills to grind their grain. During the Middle Ages, in the Netherlands, people went back to the ancient idea of using the power of the wind to move water. They used windmills to drain lakes, thereby creating more land for farming.
Right. Did you hear the answers? There we are. So in the first one, there was only one answer, and it was farmers again. They just didn't have it in the question. And it was to pump water. In ancient Persia, hopefully you've heard them say, grind grain. And in the Netherlands, now this was a tricky one because there are two possible answers. Both are correct. Move water or drain lakes. Both are correct. So some questions will have more than one correct answer. Just make sure that the answer that you write is in the correct form. If you said drain the lakes, would it work? That's 3 words. All right. You can't have drain the lakes or move the water because that would be 3 words. And this says no more than 2. All right. So that's a good piece of the magic of the listening exam. Once again, once you hear a question, listen for the next one. All right. And if let go of anything in the past, you can guess later. And if you keep listening, you'll have a better idea of how to guess at that one that you missed. All right. You might even find a clue to the answer later on. So, any questions about this so far? I'm adding in, I have always, as always, a resources page at the end of this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint will be available in that downloadable drive, in the drive link that I showed you. The resources that I've got listed here, hopefully you'll be getting these as a email as well. I'll make sure of that so that you've got them. So IELTS Academic is an excellent site. I've sent a lot of people there over the years, and it always seems to work very, very well. They have some wonderful TED Talks with a list of questions for you to listen for. So if you're interested in improving your advanced level, so let's say 6 and above, those TED Talks are a really good place to listen for the academic level language. And they also have a daily 30-minute workout, which is great. Excellent listening source are the BBC Radio 4 programs. These are short clips. They're 4-minute clips. So very similar to the amount of time that you're going to be listening in the listening exam as well. So I do recommend those. That link's terrific. News and levels, don't forget, you can listen as well as read the news and levels articles. And the more you do, the broader your vocabulary becomes, and the easier it is for you to understand when they talk about the history of water use or something like that, because you'll already have the basic language of ecology, history, all of those things. So just every day, please read an article on a subject you've never read before. And News and Levels is an easy place to go for that. Let's see. And IELTS Up is another excellent place for their listening exercises. So I highly recommend those. Plus, of course, as always, Asia's marvelous Fast Track IELTS. So that ends our listening exam. Oops. And again, I'm going to ask, do you have any questions? So anything I can add to this for you? Next, we're going to be looking at the, I'm sorry, at the task 1 writing. So any questions about listening? All right, well, let's get going then. Let me bring up the next PowerPoint. Writing exam. So there we go. Right. Start it up so you can do it. Thanks for your patience. Whoops. Don't do that. All right. So I'm going to share the screen again and start the next section. Right. So here we are. Let's talk about the task 1 writing exam. So if you go to last week's video, you will get an overview of the entire exam, and you will know that you have 1 hour to write 2 essays. Oh, yes, I know. They're short, and if you use the right techniques, your time will be plenty. All right. So the task 1 is the first half of the writing exam. We usually, it's the best practice is to dedicate 20 minutes to this particular essay. I say essay, it's only a couple of paragraphs. It's really not that long. So let's look at it. Yeah, the most important, so you've got 20 minutes. It needs to be 150 words. Oh my God. So how many of you would immediately think, okay, I've got the picture in front of me. I'm going to start writing right now, because otherwise I'm going to run out of time. I won't have time to write 150 words. That is the way to get the lowest possible score on the exam. Shocking? Yes. True? Completely. I can always tell when someone has just put their pen on the paper and started writing or started typing immediately. You have got to stop, look, think, and plan. If you do these, you'll win. All right? You will get the mark you need. It's counterintuitive. I know everyone thinks that they have to worry about the number of words that they're writing. You don't have to worry about the number of words you're writing. You have to worry about looking carefully at the image that you've got. Is it a process diagram like this, or a graph, or a flow chart, or a map, or a floor plan, or even just a table full of data? All right. You've got to stop and look and describe what you see. You are not asked for your opinion in this. So you have 150 words to tell me what you're looking at, as though I can't see it. All right. If you're describing it for someone who can't see it, you can describe it accurately. All right. That's all you need to do. Find the key features. This is the most important thing. Find the key features. What are the things that you need to write about? Well, you know how to find those the easiest? When you look at it, where is your eye drawn? Do you see, like in this tiny, I know this is tiny, that there's a flow to this, Oh, wow, it goes from an image up here down to there. What about this chart? There's a peak all the way up here. The green bar is the highest, even at this tiny size. Can't read any of the words. Don't know what's going on here, but I know that the green bar is the tallest, and the pink is the next, and the purple is there, and the other two are way far down after that. I'm not even able to read it, and I can see what I need to talk about right there. So that's the kind of immediate, what do I see? And either circle them if you're in the paper exam, or write them down as notes, or both. It's so that's the important thing. In the maps and diagrams, you're going to be comparing to. So if it's a map or a floor plan, there'll be, this is what it used to look like, and these are the planned changes. So you need to immediately look at what has changed. What is the difference between the two images? Like those games you used to play in the magazines as a child. And then analyze, what does that mean? What does it mean that the green bar is the tallest? How does that relate to, what does that say? How does that compare to, say, the shortest bar there? I don't know, because I can't read it at the moment, but you'll be able to. So the key features are where your eye goes, and the changes are the analysis of how, what does this mean? No outside information. If it's a gauge of, if it's a graph of fuel prices, and you have worked for the oil industry and you know exactly what the reasons are behind those changes, don't put them in, because you're only describing what's in front of you. Right. Now, this is where I explain why you have to plan your writing. You see this big, scary mess. Well, mostly there's just 4 things going on here that are important. Oh, why do I keep hitting that instead of, I'm sorry. Let me reshare them. There we go. I meant to hit annotate and I hit stop share instead. I don't know why I did that. Okay, there we go. Here's our annotate. And all I really want to do is show that this says task achievement. I know it's tiny. Coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. You know what that means? That means, did you do it? All of it. Did you complete the task? Did you put things in order? How's your vocabulary? Is it accurate? Is it sufficient? And your grammar. Can you write in complex sentences, and can you do it accurately? So look at that. Vocabulary and grammar are only half your mark. If you only focus on that and you don't think about planning and analysis and ordering things, then you will miss half the marks. All right. Planning gets you the other half. Your reading, your study of English gets you your vocabulary and your grammar marks. But if you want task achievement and coherence and cohesion, you've got to write a plan. All right. You've got to know what you're going to write before you put your pen down. So hopefully I've shouted that enough. It is the most consistently neglected part of the writing, just so that you know. Students come back to me all the time with disappointed marks, or they give me a sample, a practice writing, and I can tell immediately whether a plan was written or not. All right. So we're going to look at what we need to plan and how we need to write it to make it work. But my favorite was the student who came back to me and said, it worked. I wrote a plan. I wrote all the notes that I needed. I was halfway through the essay and I forgot what I was going to write next. But all I had to do was look at my notes and keep writing. And that's the person who just reassured me that this is the right thing to do. Okay, so let's look at what the assessment criteria. This is why you must plan your writing. Look at this. Logically organizes information and ideas, uses a range of cohesive devices. So not only is it logical, but they've said first, this piece of data is interesting. Then this piece of data is interesting. And both of those relate to this third piece of data, which blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's those signposts. All right. Those cohesive devices that are signposts that tell the reader, I know what I'm writing about and I know how to do it. All right. Logically organized. Now, if you start with your pen at the beginning and start writing without planning this, do you think that you can get a logical organization just out of the magic of your brain while you're trying to write those beautiful, grammatically accurate sentences? You can't do both. So you have to do the detailed planning first and the gorgeous writing next. And you'll find that the gorgeous writing is faster as soon as you have a plan. Now, look at level 6. So you're saying, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't need a 7 on writing, but look at level 6. Arranges information and ideas coherently. And there is a clear overall progression. Right. And this is, I'm going to change my pen color. Oh, if I can. Oh, maybe it's not going to let me. Never mind. I won't. Down here. And down here in level 5, you find the dangers of starting writing without a plan. So warning, caution, danger down here. Presents information with some organization, but there may be a lack of overall progression. So you didn't get the order in place beforehand. Makes inadequate, inaccurate, or overuse of cohesive devices. If you don't know what's first, second, and third, you're stuck just saying, and next. All right. If you know what you're going to be saying, you can put in the right cohesive devices. And furthermore, words like that are really going to raise your score. But most important is the last sentence in number 5. May be repetitive because of a lack of referencing and substitution. One of the big dangers in writing without a plan is repeating yourself, forgetting that you already wrote about that piece of data. You don't need to write about it again, and you certainly don't need to use the exact same words. All right. Repeating the exact same words is really dangerous, but it only happens if you don't plan. So there's my rant on planning. If you've got any questions, let me know. People think that it takes too long. They're scared. They want to write. But if you fulfill all the requirements of the writing, you will have more than enough time to write and more than enough words written down. Okay, so let me turn that off. There we go. All right, so there's different ways of plans, of making plans. When you've got all the time in the world, you can create elaborate mind maps, flow charts, or even just simple outlines. Most important is just to get the information down. Quick notes, no sentences. One of the big hazards when people start trying to plan is they will write full sentences that they intend to just copy into the essay. But if you do that, it's another source of repetition. It happens a lot that you put things into the notes. If you write full sentences, you end up using that, and frequently more than once in your essay. So no sentences, single words, short phrases. Once you've got all of the key features that you want down, put them in order, give them numbers or some indicator as to what order you're going to put them in. And note the details that you're going to use to support each of those as well. And take a second to think of, what words am I going to use? Am I going to be able to use although? So although the green bar was the highest, the blah, it was only for a short period of time, or it was, only for a couple of products, whereas the majority of them were blah. So language like that you can use, you can just make a note of some of the vocabulary that you want to use in the essay. So how do we do this? I hope some of you are working along with me, because what I'd like you to do is, with either a piece of paper or a Word document on your screen, I want you to take a look at, I'm going to show you a graph. And if you can, as well, you can find, so we'll take notes in the chat, and if you can use the annotate tool. Now, if you look along the bar where your chat button is, you will find a little pencil icon that is the annotate. And what I would like for you to do, if you can, find that annotate and look at this graph and circle or put a mark next to everything that you think is important. All right, ready? Here we go. So what are the most important and interesting things in this graph? I want to do a star. Do you see the same things I do? Which company had the highest peak? The highest peak. That would be Apple, right? But then it also had the sharpest drop. Which one has steadily increased? That would be Facebook, right? So we've got a steady increase. And that here, I'll use a line instead. There we go. So we've got this steady line for Facebook. We've got, which one is declining? Yep, that's Yahoo, which is declining. All right. Google, however, what has it done? Absolutely nothing, right? And which one has been the most volatile or changeable? And that, of course, would be the Apple one, right? Did your eye go to the same places mine did? That's all there is to it. So we've got the highest peak and the greatest variability in the Apple data for their technology, for their stock price, right? Whereas Facebook has shown a steady rise, Yahoo a steady decline, and Google has done nothing over these years, or did nothing over these years, because would all be in past tense. That's all there is to it, and that's what you write about. So, did I say that? Let's look at another set of key features. Hopefully that worked well for you. What? How about this one? What are the differences that you see? What are the differences that you see? I think the most important would be this one changing from roughly 1/4 to nearly 3/4 of the total price production in those core countries. The fact that Vietnam's reduced from roughly 1/3 to less than 1/4. And Japan's production also reduced, reduced from roughly 1/4, roughly 1/3 to just under 1/4 of the total production. Right. That's what you would say. All right. Now I have apparently missed an entire slide. Don't know how I did this. Yeah, it's just not that. I know I wrote it, but it's I wrote a slide that doesn't appear to be there. Oh, yes. Okay. So what we've been doing is looking at, right, this is the what we've been looking at is how to approach the graphs, or any other image. You want to follow where your eye goes and shows you. Now, what we actually need to write is this. Let's stop annotating and go back to highlighting. Right. So let me just highlight this. So this is what we're actually producing. So the first thing we need to do is to describe the image as we see it. So this graph, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna copy these. See, and I'm gonna come over here and just drop this in real quick. There we go. So here's our task. We're going to describe the image, give an overall statement, and then a paragraph of details. So we talked about that. I should have written it down. There we go. So I really am going to need you to help me out here a bit. This is usually a conversation, not a lecture. So describe the image, make an overall statement. This is the one time when I'm going to tell you to use one specific word. There are many tutors out there on YouTube and with websites who will say, oh, memorize these phrases and use them in your writing. Don't do that. The IELTS examiners know those same phrases and they will not count them in your word count. You can actually lose words and end up being under your number of words if you use memorized phrases. So don't do it. The only thing I'm ever going to say, memorize it and use it, is one word, and that word is overall. Okay, overall. If you remember to use that, your second sentence should be the word, it should start with the word overall, then you will, let me give this a nice bright color. If you use the word overall in your second sentence, you will remember that you've got to make a statement about this. Overall, there's considerable difference between the performance of the 4 listed technology firms, right? There's considerable difference between the performances of the 4 technology firms, from considerably from Facebook's steady increase to the wild variability of Apple and the relatively unimpressive performance of Google. All right. And that will be your overall statement. Then after that, you're going to write a paragraph where you describe this number. So it looks like Apple's stock price went up to what appears to be well over 30,000 and what appears to be 40,000, which is incredible. However, it then dropped back off and by more than half, down to just over 5,000, ending only marginally higher than it began from in 2011, where it was just below 5,000, to 2016, where it is just barely above 5,000. So you see how that's the sentence that goes into the paragraph with the numbers to back up your statement about its extreme variability. Right. The gradual increase of Facebook. When you come down into the paragraph with the details, this is where you're going to say, it began with a respectable, it looks like about roughly between 70 and 80,000, and rose steadily to 20,000 by 2016. Really impressive. Very good. However, and Yahoo is our only example of a declining stock, which went from parity, the same level, parity with Facebook in 2011, to well below roughly, what would that be? Roughly between 2,000 and 3,000 in value by 2016. And this is where you can say, on a chart like this, because there's no detail lines, you can say roughly or approximately. Great language to use. All right. And quite astonishingly, at no more than 1,000, Google remained completely flat. There you go. And now you've got all of your detail paragraph in. All you have to do afterwards is say in conclusion, which is another great phrase to remember. You know, the four stocks, you can essentially restate your overview sentence, which is, you know, the stocks performed quite differently, with only Yahoo declining, and in contrast to the wild variability of Apple. Right. There you go. So that's the whole thing. Once you have written all of that, believe me, you're going to have more than your 150 words. All right. I will, when I post this spreadsheet, or this PowerPoint, it'll be in a PDF, and I will add, I'll play back the recording and write out that essay that we just worked on together. Right. So one of the things I'd like to do next is to unwrite an essay. Okay, so we're going to try unwriting an essay. So let's look at someone else's work and see how they did it and whether they have all of the parts they needed. So here we go. We've got, what have we got? We've got a line graph showing energy consumption broken down by type of fuel. Do they have a descriptive sentence in their paragraph? Well, yes, they do. It's right there. Okay. The line graph shows energy consumption by fuel type in the United States from 1980 to 2008, with projected use until 2030. That's exactly what we've got. We've got quadrillion units. We could, in that initial sentence, include the units that we're going to be using. We've got US energy consumption by fuel. It would be good to paraphrase that rather than quoting it exactly. So the more you paraphrase, basically, the higher your mark goes. It shows a command of synonyms. All right. And then we've got the time scale down here. So look at the second paragraph. What does it begin with? That's the right word. Overall, fossil fuels have been the dominant type and will continue this trend into the future. Nuclear and renewable energy sources have represented a small but significant proportion of total energy use, and despite small projected gains, it is projected that they will continue doing so. Now, the only thing I would say is don't keep using the word projected over and over again. Come up with another word. What's another word we could use? We could say predicted. So if we say projected, the next time we use it, we could say predicted. And then we've just used more vocabulary. It's not important once you get to university. You can use repetition in your essays there. But for the IELTS essay, you are trying to show off your vocabulary. So that's the only change I would make in there. So they've talked about the overall trends, all of this, right? So petrol and oil being the top, we can see that. We can see the continued rise in coal. I believe that's actually flattened. And natural gas as well. But here we go. So, yeah, I'm not sure how accurate this graph is, but hey ho. We've got that slow, steady growth of nuclear, solar and wind, and then hydropower, which appears to have declined slightly. Right. And in here, in this paragraph, we've got a discussion of the actual numbers. So petrol and oil command the biggest share. It's very good, with 35 quadrillion units in 1980, rising to approximately 40 quadrillion in 2008. And the trend is set to continue with a projected value of nearly 50 quadrillion in 2030. In 1980, natural gas and coal came in second and third, with around 16 quadrillion and 20 respectively. However, coal overtook natural gas in 1990, and despite some fluctuations, is set to be the second most used fuel in 2030. Right. So you see how they've analyzed that with just over 30 quadrillion. There we go. It's predicted that natural gas will level off and remain relatively constant at around 25 quadrillion. So there we go. Here's the statement of how things work, and here's the data. Nuclear and the renewable energies all represented around 4 quadrillion and fluctuated up until 2008. So that's talking about those wobbles, that's fluctuation. It is speculated that nuclear energy will reach 10 quadrillion by 2030, and solar and wind around 5 quadrillion, with hydropower dropping and then remaining constant at approximately 2 quadrillion. Now, there's only one thing missing, and there should be a conclusion. It is really important to put in a concluding sentence, which could be very simple. It is apparent from this graph that although alternative energy sources are popular and gaining some increase in usage, that the predictions are that petrol, oil, coal, and gas will continue to dominate. And that's it. Statement like that, and you're done. And you will have, like I said, many more, plenty, at least the 150 words that you need by the time you're done. So, next I have resources, and I think I would like to actually show you some of these. So let me get that set up real quick and stop sharing this. There are, of course, the resources page. We need some more interaction for this to run, but we'll do what we can. My favorite, and the one I'm going to show you immediately, is IELTS Academic with the writing practice tests. I'm going to show you the British Council grammar site. Once again, remind you about my set of practice exams. And of course, the best advice on YouTube, which is my friend Asia. All right, no worries. Thanks for coming. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Take a big deep breath. Ask me any questions you like while I set up the next a little tour of the resources. Any questions? Now's your chance to ask me questions. Come on, you can do it. Oh, right. There's one of the first ones. I'm glad I did this. This will work well. Okay. So here's the first things I want to show you. So remember our old friend news and levels. I've lost it. Come on. It's just the. Oh, there it is. There we go. So, you may remember our old friend news and levels. Sorry about that delay. And then we go basic, and we'll go to that screen. There we go. So here we are. Fabulous news and levels. One of my favorites. You might ask me, where can I get the grammar and the vocabulary for talking about numbers and data, right? Can be very important. Where do you get the information on this? Well, I found in News and Levels, you just have to scroll through and find the right articles. Here's one on Samsung profit. Okay, so profit was a good key. That's going to tell me about numbers. So it's profit for the third quarter. What's that mean? Well, that's the year is broken into quarters, 3 months each. Of course, 12 months, 3 months each for a quarter. So the third quarter would be the 7th, 8th, and 9th months of the year. So July through September, with October through December being the last. Right. So that's their profit is not as bad as experts expect. The memory chip market is in trouble, but things are starting to get better. Samsung's shares go up by 3.3%. Now, it is better than the wider market's 1.4% increase. This is very simple language. It will get you through the IELTS, but it won't get you a 7. Let's read level 3. Samsung Electronics announced that its preliminary third quarter profit dropped by a smaller than expected 78%. Right. The news has raised optimism. Let's see now. The company's shares rose by 3.3%, outperforming the wider market's 1.4% increase, with analysts suggesting that the memory chip prices may have hit their lowest point in the third quarter, and some types are starting to bounce back. Okay, so some of those, think about the technology chart. Remember how Apple dropped off and then bounced back? So this is a great place to read and get the feel for talking about data. I was really pleased to find this. If I go back one, we'll find that. There we go. Yeah. There we are. So Exxon buys Pioneer, Samsung profit. This is news in levels. Hopefully you are familiar with it. If you're not, there's one on wind energy. This is going to give you such great vocabulary for coping with the IELTS exam. The wider your vocabulary, the better your performance will be. So I just wanted to show you that in News and Levels, there is also really good opportunities to learn language about data. It's always a hard thing to find. Right. So the IELTSacademic.com, that's one of my other favorite sites. And yeah, I'll just put this. This page has an excellent range of writing test practices. They all have sample answers, and so you can look at a line graph, and there you go, there's a line graph. All right. Did that bounce into a new? Yeah, it did. So there we go. Line graph, a bar chart, a diagram, process diagram, a cycle that goes over the water cycle, another process one, and a map, another natural process, and a plane table. Those are always the most boring ones, but there's so much you can say about them. All right. So they will have a sample answer below. Do your best, try it, and then see if they've got all the right parts in their answer. All right. So any questions? Please don't hesitate, either in the chat or out loud. You are welcome. So there we go. Oh, right. So the next thing I want to show you, you can get more articles in the 6-minute English, which will also give you more vocabulary. But the one I really wanted to show you was, there we are. The grammar. So basic English grammar at this point, work in the B1 and B2 section. These are really lovely, short, interactive exercises to make sure that you have, it's like capital letters and apostrophes. How about conditionals? All right. Contrasting ideas. This is really important for the exam. So they're very short. There's a video and an explanation and a little test that you can take. All right. To make sure that you understand that form. It's a really good way of doing it. The C1 grammar. This is the high scoring writing exam language. Present simple and continuous may sound simple, but it's not as much. Avoiding repetition in a text. There you go. Make sure that you go to that one and have a look at it. Inversion and conditionals and clauses. So I really want you to do, I used to do a whole class just on clauses. I don't have time to do that, but I can send you to this one. Once again, there's a story, there's a recording, and there's a little test to make sure that you understand what you're working on. So I hope that you will use those resources as well. So yeah, it'll keep flashing things like that up too. So you can also go to, this will be a little bit harder, but if you go to the BBC, to their news, or any of the major news magazines, The Guardian is free, that one's always available. Some of them have paywalls, but The Guardian and the BBC, no paywalls. And once again, you can find articles on numbers, dealing with numbers and processes in their business section. So I went to business and the technology to find this article. And let's see what kind of wonderful language we can come up with here. Oh, there we go. Right in the first sentence. Reported earnings of 5 billion between July, 6.2 billion between July and September, up sharply on the previous quarter. Those are the little phrases that are going to help you through the task one writing. Oil prices are currently lower than that period, but have risen recently. Ah, yes. The invasion of Ukraine caused a spike in oil and gas prices. What does that mean? It means a super sharp increase, like that line, the line in the technology graph, where Apple went crazy for a short period of time. Right. So, how are we doing? Not bad. So, as you read through this, you can find wonderful things. Oh, let's see now, something could push the price of crude oil up. So up as usual, but oh, here's a good one. Oil prices surged. So that's another way. Rather than spiked, you can also say surged. And there we go. The cost has moved upwards again since production cuts. So this is a really great way of finding the kind of language that you need. So read an article like this and then go back to the sample graphs, either in my IELTS practice drive, where you will find even more graphs to describe. This PDF, which I'll show you, has a sample here of the analysis, and so you start out by listing the key features of the graph. So this one's an example. So there's key features of this graph. The description. The bar chart illustrates the product revenue for the years 2003 to 2005. The data is measured in millions of dollars, broken down by month. Overall, your next statement should be overall. Overall, there has been a significant increase. So this set, this particular PDF has loads of graphs for you to do the same thing. So here's my sample. What do you do? Description, overall, details, and analysis. Don't forget a conclusion. So here we go. This one is an opportunity for you to, again, look at it, list the key features and relationships, the things that you're going to do, put numbers on them to make sure you write them in the correct order, and then go for it. Describe, what is this? So it's a pie chart. All right. And go and describe what you see, give the overall statement, and then continue with the details and analysis. All right. I've forgotten how many of these there are. Oh, there's 6 of them. So you've got 6 opportunities, or 5, to analyze graphs and use that fabulous language that you can get from the news articles and the sources that I've given you. So I will make sure that this gets, hopefully you can find this in the links. So that's, there we go. That is the PDF here called Describing Graphs worksheet. And when you've done that, then you can go on to the writing practice 1, to the writing practices. There are 2 graphs, a couple of processes, a chart, and another chart, and a process flow. So lots of opportunities to practice, lots of places to work on your grammar. And I hope that all of this will help you get the marks you need. So in the last few minutes, I will once again ask if there's any questions. Anything else that I can help you with. Thank you all for coming and for your patience listening to me and the occasional fumbles on this one. Sorry about that. But there we go. This is why I'm not a YouTuber, but go see, go use Asia's YouTube channel. She's very polished and she says all the same things I do. She will not lead you astray. And that's the key. Please don't wander around YouTube. There is some very, very bad information out there. The IELTS official channel, the British Council's IELTS official channel, which and ASIA's channel are the only 2 that I would say go to. All right. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you so much, Tatiana. Thank you for coming. I'm going to stop recording now because we don't need to record the goodbyes.